guys, and welcome back to my Teen Wolf Rewatch. I am really excited because you guys liked episode 1, so we are going to keep it rolling. So let's get out episode 2 through 4. Okay, so first, thank you so much. But let's jump right into the second episode. This is Second Chance at Second Line. So where we left off in episode 1 is Scott has just figured out that Allison's father is the hunter who pinned him or who shot him in the woods. And so now he is basically freaking out. He has lost it, honestly. And I would too. I mean, like, you are like really crushing on this girl, and then her daddy just shot you. I feel like that's some kind of trauma there. Like, Scott might need a therapist after this. But yeah, so he is freaking out. But we flash forward from that morning into the afternoon, and we are going into the lacrosse practice. And at lacrosse practice, we are seeing Scott and Jackson line up against each other continuously. And with every blow of the whistle and every time they have to line up, Scott's bloodlust just continues to rise and rise and rise. And at some point, Scott loses it. And so he goes to the locker room and once again tries to kill Stiles. Which I'm gonna put a Stiles killing counter at the bottom of this. It's gonna be like twice. We actually might be on 3 times at this point. So while Scott and Jackson were lining up against each other during the lacrosse tryouts, Jackson actually had his shoulder dislocated. So at this point, the only person that can play is Scott. And Scott is basically like, I can't play. I can't control the bloodlust. So this is not a good idea. And Stiles tells Scott in the locker room basically, hey, you are our only chance. Like, Jackson is messed up. So you have to play. And everybody's looking forward to you playing. But I do agree, you should not play because you might kill someone. So as Scott and Stiles are talking, Derek actually shows up to the locker room because at this point he is stalking Scott. Well, I guess, I don't know, like, it's like when you are interested in a niche thing and it's super niche. So most of your life has only been you. And then here come this little person and they into it and they're excited. Well, they're not excited. They're into it and they're failing and falling and all of those things. You kind of be like, oh, okay, I like you. I'm gonna help you out. But Derek is basically stalking Scott. Like, there is no other way around it. He is stalking Scott. But he also trying to make sure that Scott doesn't give away his secret by accidentally giving away his own secret. You know what I'm saying? So Scott does the right thing and he tries to drop out of the game. Coach Finstock is not having it. He's like, hey, look, Jackson's hurt. You did it. And so you're not getting away with this. Like, you're gonna have to be in this game. And Scott is like, I shouldn't play. I can't play. Finstock not feeling that shit. He don't care. You playing. Jackson hurt. You playing. Allison also adds a little bit of fuel to the fire because she's like, hey, Scott, me and my dad are going to be there watching you tonight. And at first he's like, oh, shit, I got to play. She going to be watching me. But also, if I transform on the field, her daddy going to shoot me. Her damn daddy is going to shoot me. So while Allison and Scott are talking, Scott notices that Allison actually has her jacket. And he's questioning, like, where'd you get that? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I think Lydia put it in my locker because I left it with her or something. And Scott is upset because he's like, hey, look, I know exactly. Well, he don't tell her that, but he's like upset because he's like looking for Derek. Like, why would you do that? Like, why are you even in contact with her? Leave her alone. Stop messing with her because I feel like you mess with her because you're trying to mess with me. So the sheriff has actually implemented a curfew for all the students. And Scott is basically trying to confront Derek about this jacket that, of course, he had, he hung in the woods. So Scott knows that Derek had something to do with the jacket. Scott decides that Derek isn't giving him what he needs, and he decides that, fuck it, I'm gonna get this nigga out of my life. I know he done killed somebody. He bit me. He was like, fuck it, jail. So Scott and Stiles decide that they are basically going to find out if the body in the morgue and the body in the woods are the same body. So now that Scott is full on wolf and his powers, which I will say, we're in episode 2 and his powers are stable and he's able to use them and maneuver them, which, I mean, I guess, I don't know, they're wolf powers, so maybe it's not a whole lot of learning curve there, But at the same time, he's just like in there, like, oh, I got this. I'm that nigga. I can do this real quick. Boom, 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 boom. So Scott, so Scott goes to the morgue and he's smelling. Well, I will say he does go to Derek like a few times within the season to figure out how to hone his wolf power. So I won't say he's just in there like I can do this shit. So no, that's not what's going on. He is able to go to the morgue and sniff the body and find out that the body is the same body that was in the woods. So while Scott is in the morgue, Stiles is actually looking out, like keeping a lookout, and we see Stiles watch Jackson and Lydia interact. And we find out that Jackson, who does have a separated shoulder, is getting cortisone shot. So a cortisone shot is a shot that basically mimics the natural stress hormone cortisone, inflammation, pain, and your immune system issues. But right now, Jackson is using it to be able to tolerate the pain in his shoulder and, play. Cortisone shots are actually like a thing that happens. I remember the first time that I heard about like a cortisone shot that was on TV was when I was watching Make It or Break It. And I think Peyton's back was jacked up. So I think that was like the first time I ever heard of a cortisone shot. Well, in a show. Because, yeah. But so that was that. So after we see Lydia basically coach Jackson into getting this cortisone shot, we also see, Scott come back and tell Stiles that yes, the body from the morgue and the body at Derek's house are the same body. So after Scott does tell Stiles that the body at the morgue and the body at Derek's house have the same scent, they decide to go to Derek's house and look for the body and dig it up so that they can basically frame Derek, which is honestly crazy, but that's what they decide to do. So they go to Derek's house and Scott tells Stiles that the scent is different. Like, he's like, I don't know, something's wrong. It's not the exact same scent that I had before. So they go to start digging up the body and they do start to dig it up, but Stiles actually spots wolfsbane. When he spots the wolfsbane, he actually goes over to the wolfsbane and he starts to pull it up. And while he's pulling up the wolfsbane, we see it tied to a rope. The rope is actually the same rope that is bound to the body. So I'm guessing that because I don't know, because I don't think rope is a natural element. I think it is a chemical element that's like put together to make rope. I know like you have nylon rope and shit like that, and nylon's not a natural occurring element. The wolfsbane basically is connected to the rope and it turned the body into a wolf instead of an actual person. So that's why the scent was different. So once they actually pull up the wolfsbane and they unbind the body turns back into human, and therefore they are able to get Derek arrested. And Sheriff Stilinski does come through and arrest Derek. So it worked. So a few things to note about this is that the werewolf that was buried was able to turn into a full wolf. This is actually something that the Hells are like known for, or actually I guess you kind of find out throughout the show that they're known for, but very early on Talia Hale is shown to be able to turn into a full wolf. And so like I said, there's special abilities via wolves. Like you have the true alpha, which we find out later that Scott is a true alpha. You have the twins who are able to create one big ass alpha because they shared the same DNA. You got Callie who had that weird ass toe shit that other people don't have. Now she could have just sharpened her toenails into like wolf toenails, but I don't know. We've never seen, like, even with she-wolves, I don't think we've seen like feet like Callie's. So I'm willing to say that's a separate wolf thing. So as Stilinski comes to arrest Derek, Stiles and Scott leave, but Scott starts to freak out, like he's having issues with his body, and he's like, what's going on? And he looks over and Stiles has kept the wolfsbane, and the wolfsbane of course is causing him to lose it, which is an issue, right? So Scott immediately is like, why did you keep that? And then Stiles stops the car, he throws the book bag with the wolfsbane in it, which I think he shouldn't have done. He should have kept it, but like moved it away from Scott, honestly, because wolfbane comes back so often that this very early like mention of wolfsbane should have been kept. But anyway, so he throws the book bag, but by the time he throws the freaking book bag, Scott is gone. Which I will say, he did not try to maul his best friend. He just got the fuck on. So maybe he's learning not to kill his best friend. We'll see. Once we catch up with Scott, he is fully transformed into a werewolf. He is running full speed on all fours, and he's going to Allison's house for some fucking reason, even though he knows her dad is a fucking hunter. But yes, he's going to Allison's house, and he is in full wolf transformation. Once he is on Allison's roof, he actually gets a reflection of what he looks like in this moment, and he freaks the fuck out. He freaks out, he falls off the roof, and Allison's father hits him with his fucking car. And like at first he's like, oh my god, are you okay? And this is where I feel like he started his suspicion first. Like at first, and it doesn't even come off like, oh, that's suspicious. No, it just comes off as like, are you okay? Like, you're not hurt? Like, you're okay? You fell off a roof and got hit by a car. You're okay? And Scott is very much so okay, but also not a werewolf. After Allison's father runs Scott over, he does make it to the game and he does plan to play, even though it's a very, very bad idea. I would like to say that Scott McCall makes really bad decisions. Later on, they have purpose, and Jeff Davis was in there cooking when he was making Scott have glorious purpose. But in that first season, he was just making dumbass decisions. Cause ain't no way I'm finna go to a game. Like, it's just, cause he repeats like a lot of the same stuff with his beta when Scott has a beta. So it's just like, yeah, you knew better, bro. You must actually get to the game and decide that the whole team is basically gonna ice Scott out. So I don't know if this was the best idea on Jackson's part, because at some point Jackson's teammates, including Danny, his best friend, are like, hey, I want to win, and passing to McCall is gonna help us win, and you just like, no, we're not doing it. And so like even his own people are like, Jackson, are you sure this is a good idea? Like, icing Scott out is not a good idea. He's one of the best players we have, no matter if he dislocated your shoulder or not, which I understand, Jackson. Nigga dislocate my shoulder, I don't want to fuck with him neither. But y'all want to win, right? Everybody want to win? Okay, well, let's win. So once Scott finds out that Jackson and the rest of the team are actually icing him out on purpose, not passing him the ball on purpose, it makes his pulse rise. And once his pulse starts to like rise, he goes into full werewolf mode. He is growling and snarling and only seeing in werewolf vision. Remember I showed you werewolf vision last episode? That's all he's seeing. And literally, he is still playing lacrosse, which I say there's something there. Like, part of his brain was like, I still gotta win this game, but I want to kill all y'all. But he is literally still playing lacrosse as his blood pressure is rising. And it's to the point where he's like throwing the ball through the fucking thing. And lacrosse balls are like, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and I'll look it up after this episode and let y'all know in episode 3, but I think lacrosse balls are kind of like wiffle balls. So to throw a wiffle ball, if it is a wiffle ball, through a fucking net is a feat. You gotta put a lot of you already have to put a lot of swing into a wiffle ball, or a lot of pressure, effort, a lot. It takes a lot to get a wiffle ball to move because of the holes and its aerodynamics. So to be able to get it to move with that kind of velocity to go through a fucking net is impressive and scary. Impressive and fucking scary, dude. That's like somebody who can throw a feather hard. You what the fuck is wrong with you? Why can you throw a feather hard? Nigga, you ain't, what's wrong with you? Hard feather thrower. So in spite of Scott losing his fucking cool and just flipping over people and throwing and growling and snarling at people and putting claw marks in his fucking lacrosse mitt, they win the game. So after Scott wins the game for Beacon Hills, he leaves his fucking lacrosse mitt where he just put claw marks in on the field for Jackson to find. And of course, Jackson's old hater ass gonna find it, right? So Scott goes to the locker room because he is in full wolf mode and just cannot pull it together. So Allison goes after him, which at this point we're kind of like, yo, is he gonna maul her? I know I keep using Maul, but I mean they're wolves, so whatever. But like we're like, is he gonna kill her? Like she goes into there and he's like full on wolf, like huffing and puffing, almost to the point where he's out of control and can't control himself from like harming her. So when she does actually come in, he's able to calm down and he is not in full wolf mode anymore. Of course, this is leading up to something. We'll talk about it later. So of course he is back into regular boy mode and he tells her that basically he's sorry for being weird and that she makes him nervous. And he was wondering if he could have a second chance because once again he left her ass at Lydia's fucking party by herself because he was going to kill her during the full moon. So yeah, he does ask for a second chance and she's like, of course, you already have it. And of course they kiss. After we get this sweet moment with Allison and Scott where they finally kiss, I think this is their very first kiss, we find out that Derek got out of jail because they ruled the killing an animal mauling because there are wolf hairs on the body, because the body is a wolf. That's why there's wolf hairs on the body. But also Derek did not kill the body. So of course, because there are animal hairs on the body, Derek is not an animal from what Beacon Hills knows, so of course he's let out of jail. Upon his release from jail, we also find out that the body in the woods that we've been going, like this body that's been a Jane Doe for so long, is actually Laura Hill, his older sister. And that is the end of episode 2. That was way quicker than episode 1. But of course, episode 1 was like 40 minutes. I think the runtime on this was like maybe 35. So yes, of course it was quicker. But let's get into episode 3.